Siblings of psychopaths. When did you realize your sibling wasn't normal? When my little brother was 10, he asked me why you couldn't just lie to people to get what you want if they'd never find out. I was 17 at the time, and had no idea how the F to answer his question. But back then, I didn't really think it was a big deal. So I just laughed and told him to just not lie, before shoving him out of my room so I could keep playing Minecraft with my friends. But from there, strange things started happening. One time I walked him to school, and he showed me this cool bird that he had killed by pouring rat poison into the bird feeder. He whipped it out of his pocket like it was no big deal. That's when I knew he was more than just quirky. I always blame myself for not telling our mom sooner, but looking back, I understand why. You see, she was working 2 jobs, 7 days a week, and even with my paychecks it was like no amount of money was ever enough. So the last thing I wanted was to give her one more thing to think about. Plus, I figured I was big bro, so I thought I could handle it. That same day, I bought the cheapest books I could find on parenting, and practically swallowed them whole. I swear I had enough information to figure out how to grow a baby in my womb or something, but none of it was applicable to my brother, and that's when it started. A few weeks later I brought him to the public pool. I swear I only took my eyes off of him for 5 seconds, but when I found him again, he was using all his strength to push against the closet and keep it closed. I walked over, and when I pushed him out of the way, a small 4-year-old girl walked out. I looked at Timmy, expecting to see some sort of guilt, or at least sadness for being caught. Instead, he just laughed. "You should have seen her face," he hollered, pointing at the girl who was so scared she was peeing herself right in the middle of the pool hall. When we got home, I realized we needed to have a serious conversation, but you never know how difficult it is to explain empathy to a child who sees it as a foreign concept until you actually do it. Then Timmy said something that sent chills down my spine. If it was wrong, why was it so easy? That's when I had to end the conversation, because it was simply too much. I never stopped trying though. I put in more hours at work just so I could bring him to therapy, and signed him up for rugby so he would have something to channel his stuff into. I really thought it was working, because I wasn't getting calls about his teachers reporting him anymore, and he even had a few friends. Phew. But just when I thought the storm had passed, his therapist called me. She told me she needed me to come in as urgently as I could, and to keep it a secret from Timmy. I left work early and made the 30-minute drive in 20. My head was spinning. When I walked into the room, her eyes were widened, and the color was drained from her face. She had been working this job for 15 years, so I couldn't understand how Timmy had said something to bamboozle her this hard. She explained that at first, Timmy had been saying all the right things during their sessions. He'd even cry sometimes. But during the last session, his 30th one, something changed. Out of pride, he accidentally let it slip that he had figured out exactly what she wanted to hear. My stomach twisted so much I thought I was going to vomit. He hadn't been getting better. He'd been getting smarter. The therapist continued and told me I ought to be very concerned, because his ability to manipulate has grown sharper and more calculated. By this point, he was 14 years old, so I assumed it was early enough that he couldn't do any real damage yet. When I got home, Timmy ran up to me with a huge smile on his face. Adam, look!" He whipped out his phone and showed me a photo of a girl who looked around his age. "I just bagged her. She's so beautiful." When I looked into his eyes, I saw genuine adoration, one that I thought you couldn't fake. I thought back to when I was his age, how crazy I was before I talked to a girl for the first time, before my first kiss. To me, it all made sense, but I had to be sure. So I asked if I could meet her. "Yes, I want to show her off to the whole world," he said. I wasn't exactly sure what meeting her would do or what I was looking for, but I just knew I needed to be involved in some way. Well, she ended up coming over for dinner that weekend. Our mom wasn't home, so I cooked us my famous-ish chicken Alfredo. She had jet black hair, dressed a little goth. She was a lot quieter than Timmy, but she smiled a lot. After dinner, she offered to clean up, but I told her she could spend the rest of the evening with Timmy, and they rushed upstairs to his bedroom, with the door open. Not even 10 minutes later, I heard Isabella scream. I ran upstairs as quietly as I could, and what I saw was disgusting. Isabella's eyes were wide open, and her arms were pinned down to the bed. All of her clothes were completely torn, and there were tears streaming down her face. I kicked Timmy out, and gave Isabella some of our mom's clothes to change into, before driving her home. She told me she wanted to press charges, and I agreed. The rest of the full video is on my channel and linked below.